We don't give much thought to water. It's the essence of human life, and we all have a right to it. Well, that theory doesn't hold water much these days, and here to tell us more is Loic Fauchon. As chairman of the World Water Council and also as the head of the Societe des Eaux de Marseille, you speak for many different organizations, and you're kind of the voice of water. So tell me, are we really in a water crisis? Are there dangers ahead, or is this just hype?
Certainly in some parts of the world there are crises. We are now at a period of tensions on water resources are really increasing. Some countries knows now a big situation of hydrical stress. But we need to understand why we are in front of this situation. Because some journalists or political leaders often, certainly too often, say that's the fault to the climate. We are thinking in the Council first that it's the fault of men, because demography, urbanization, pollution in a lot of rivers all over the world and in big cities are the responsibility of the man's activities.
So it's not global warming?
It's not global warming. Global warming is coming. But the situation now, the tensions that we know today are not mainly caused by the global warming. And so the solutions that we have to present and to organize, to implement, needs to look at the origin, which is not the global warming, but which are mainly from the demography and from the necessities of the economic development from a few decades. And so the tensions that we are knowing now in big countries like China, but also in some African countries and other, we can see in every continent that there is big problems, needs to have local solutions, even if the cause is global.
In other words, you can have, if, for example, one of the NGOs wanted to help on a global basis, it still has to go through the people who are there in the position. And that's probably where a lot of the trouble comes.
We can have only one answer to this question, as you understand very well, because the kind of solutions that you can implement countries by countries, but also in one country, region by region, where the situation is different. You are coming from US, and you know very well that the situation in California is not the same that in east of the US. In France, the situation is not the same between Britain and south west. And we by the past had only one kind of policy. It was to satisfy the demand, which was increasing more and more for agriculture, for industry, for domestic uses. And now we are understanding it's not possible to continue with the pressure of the demography. And so we will be obliged to change strongly our comportment. That's a problem which is very interesting to follow of California. The governor of California was explaining that in 1 year or 2 years, very quickly, population has to decrease the consumption of water. When I say population, for all use of water. Could it be possible or not? It will be very interesting to follow what will happen during the next years in this case. But other, for example, the water is going down more than 4 meters in Beijing surroundings every year, which is terrific if you are looking at what will happen in 10 or 20 years. So the Chinese government is obliged urgently to bring water from the south of China to the north of China. We can say it's not a good ecological posture, obviously, but when you are in responsibility, when you have the political responsibility, what can you do? The same for other countries which are implementing very quickly desalination treatment plants. There's problem, there's ecological consequences, but what can you do if you are political leaders if you don't have any water? So a lot of the answers we can see now all over the world are responses to urgent situation. And in the same time, we have to think about the answer to give on the mid and long term, which is which needs a regulation of the water demand, a very strong regulation. And people, politicians are not prepared for this regulation, which needs certainly increasing of water prices, which needs obligation to make a strong economy for all the users of water and so on. So we are at the crossroad of the history of water in the world. The same that probably we are at the crossroad of the history of energy. The same. And you can understand very easily, everybody can understand very easily, that water solutions and energy solutions are completely linked.
That brings up the question of who actually pays for water. Certainly there are infrastructure costs that could be subsidized or paid for as an investment. So is it a public sector project or is it a private sector investment?
Some experiences have been implemented since 20, 30, 40 years, and they are not positive. And so the only best solution is that water has to pay water. That's the expression in French. And it needs that the public authority has to organize the financing. You can use private competencies, you can use private experiences for managing and maintaining and operating water infrastructures. But we need to be more courageous and explain to the people that perhaps God has given us water, but God doesn't pay the treatment plants, the canal and the sewage water treatment plants, and we have to pay that kind of infrastructures as we are paying infrastructures for telecommunication. Can you imagine that the use of a telephone for mobile could be free? No. That's the same for water. After that, the level of the price, the question of the level of the price is very different. It's the responsibility of the public government, local or national, it depends.
It sounds as though the timing is right to fund infrastructure for water as part of a stimulus package.
This is certainly one of the most important questions. That's the responsibility, that's the public governments, and I repeat, national and local, because local governments, local authorities have a very important role to play in the future, because the competence of water will be more and more from the level, from the ground. And so that's their very important responsibility to decide what level of priority they give to water and sanitation. I often say that we need to convince them to give the priority to taps before guns. But you know, in a lot of poor countries, military budgets are increasing and the civil budgets are decreasing. So we need to inverse the situation. And this is really a political decision. That's not a technical problem. The technology are there to help the political decision only.
Let me end by asking you if you're optimistic about the future of the water situation.
I'm more optimistic than 10 years ago for two main reasons. First, we in the Council are seeing that the debate has moved from the technical side to the political one. All the political organizations are now discussing about water, sanitations, and environmental issues. That's very important. The second reason is that the technologies are progressing very, very fast. As I was saying, desalination, but transfer of water, pumping deeper and deeper, recycling water. A lot of new technologies are now not so expensive, could be used for water issues. And these two, political and technological progresses, I think are very important, and I'm more optimistic.
Loic Fauchon, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.